George Herbert Walker Bush, the 41st President of the United States, was born on June 12, 1924, in Milton, Massachusetts. His life was one of service, dedication, and profound impact on both American politics and the world stage. Bush's career spanned decades, beginning with his military service in World War II and extending through his tenure as president from 1989 to 1993. George H.W. Bush was born into a prominent family. His father, Prescott Bush, was a successful banker and later a U.S. Senator from Connecticut. Raised in a politically engaged household, young George attended prestigious schools, including Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts. His early life was marked by a sense of duty and responsibility, values instilled by his family. At the age of 18, Bush enlisted in the U.S. Navy during World War II, becoming the youngest aviator in the Navy at the time. He flew combat missions in the Pacific and was shot down over the island of Chichijima in 1944. After being rescued, Bush went on to complete his service, an experience that profoundly shaped his character and future career. Following the war, Bush attended Yale University, where he earned a degree in economics in 1948. At Yale, he became a member of the prestigious Skull and Bone Society, a mark of his connection to elite circles. Bush entered politics in the early 1960s, initially running unsuccessfully for the U.S. Senate in Texas in 1964. However, his career took off when he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 1966, representing Texas's 7th District. During his 2 terms in Congress, Bush developed a reputation for bipartisanship and pragmatic decision-making. In 1971, he was appointed by President Richard Nixon to head the U.S. Liaison Office in the People's Republic of China, where he worked to strengthen U.S.-China relations. His diplomacy proved valuable during the Cold War, and this experience helped cement his reputation as an effective and measured leader on the global stage. Bush's political ascent continued when he was appointed director of the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, in 1976 under President Gerald Ford. His tenure at the CIA was marked by a period of reorganization and modernization, ensuring that the agency could address the emerging challenges of a changing global landscape. In 1980, Bush sought the Republican nomination for president but lost to Ronald Reagan. However, Reagan selected him as his vice presidential running mate for the 1980 election. The Reagan-Bush ticket won a decisive victory over incumbent Jimmy Carter, and Bush served as vice president for 8 years from 1981 to 1989. As vice president, Bush played a key role in several foreign policy decisions, including U.S. involvement in Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as efforts to manage tensions with the Soviet Union. His work behind the scenes helped to position him as a steady, experienced leader, often serving as the bridge between Reagan's more ideological conservatism and the pragmatic realities of governance. In 1988, George H.W. Bush ran for president, securing the Republican nomination and ultimately defeating Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis in the general election. Bush's presidency was defined by significant events, both domestic and international. Bush's presidency began during a period of dramatic geopolitical change. The Cold War, which had defined international relations for decades, was coming to an end. Bush's foreign policy achievements were integral to this shift. In particular, his leadership during the collapse of the Soviet Union earned him recognition as a key figure in the peaceful end of the Cold War. One of Bush's most significant accomplishments was the management of the Gulf War in 1990 to 1991. When Iraq, led by dictator Saddam Hussein, invaded Kuwait, Bush swiftly assembled a broad international coalition to expel Iraqi forces from Kuwait. Under the auspices of the United Nations, Operation Desert Storm was launched in January 1991, leading to a decisive military victory for the coalition. The success of the Gulf War solidified Bush's reputation as a strong leader on the global stage. At the same time, Bush was careful to avoid overextending U.S. military involvement in the region, maintaining a focus on diplomatic solutions to international conflicts. His approach to foreign policy was marked by a cautious, multilateralism-oriented strategy. On the domestic front, Bush faced significant challenges, particularly economic difficulties. The U.S. was experiencing a recession when he took office, and unemployment rates were high. While he presided over a recovery in the early 1990s, the economic challenges were compounded by his decision to break his famous campaign pledge, "Read my lips, no new taxes." In an effort to reduce the budget deficit, Bush agreed to raise taxes as part of a bipartisan deal with Congress, a decision that alienated many conservatives and ultimately hurt his political standing. Despite his efforts to address the nation's economic problems, Bush's approval ratings took a significant hit. In the 1992 election, he was challenged by former Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton, who portrayed himself as a fresh face for a new generation of leadership. Clinton's message resonated with voters, and Bush, despite his foreign policy successes, was defeated in a three-way race that also included Texas businessman Ross Perot. After leaving office, George H.W. Bush largely withdrew from the political spotlight, although he remained active in public life. He developed a close partnership with Bill Clinton, especially in the realm of humanitarian work. Together, they raised funds for victims of natural disasters, notably the 2004 tsunami and Hurricane Katrina. In 2011, Bush's wife, Barbara Bush, passed away, and in 2018, George H.W. Bush himself died at the age of 94. His death marked the passing of one of the last members of the greatest generation who had served in World War II and contributed significantly to shaping the modern world. Bush's legacy remains complex, marked by his leadership during the Cold War's end, his military service, and his domestic and international policies. Though he faced criticism for his handling of domestic issues, his foreign policy achievements, particularly the Gulf War, and the peaceful resolution of the Cold War, are widely regarded as defining aspects of his presidency. George H.W. Bush's life is remembered for its dedication to service, both at home and abroad. His career reflected a commitment to duty, leadership in times of crisis, and a pragmatic approach to the challenges of governance.